This video is going to show you how to kill and find the first S-class rank bounty that you come across in Final Fantasy XVI. This is going to show you how to kill this enemy early when you are under-leveled. So it's called Breaker of Worlds, I believe, this bounty, and the name of the enemy is Atlas, which is an Iron Giant type enemy. Which if you watch the pre-launch stream of this game, you would have already seen this enemy. I've already seen it. But this is just going to show you where to find him and how to kill him and stuff like that. So where to find him, it doesn't tell you on the bounty board. So you've got to actually physically find it. First thing, you need to have done Out of the Shadow or be on that quest at the least for this enemy type to even show up, which is probably why people are having difficulty finding him. So that's the first thing. And then he's in Rosaria, right? So load up the map. So what you'll do is you fast travel to Martha's Rest, right? That'll be the quickest route, I would say. And then just travel up here, and this is where you'll find him at this very end on Crusadia or whatever it's called, right? This is where the enemy type will show up, which is pretty straightforward. A lot of these bounty hunts, when it tells you where they roughly are, you just look at the map and you're like, oh, he's going to be at the end, right? Because it's where the map opens up, so you can obviously tell he's going to be here. But in this case, it doesn't give you any information, right? So this is where he is, right? So obviously you want a good setup, right? If you're going to be under leveled. I was level 36. I know I am 38 now, but I've just killed him and I gained 2 levels off killing him. So I was 36, so you know I'm nearly 10 levels under. I've got a good setup. I've got my abilities down, right? So I'm using. Obviously, this is spoiler territory. So if you haven't played the game to this point, don't watch, obviously. But I'm using 3 icons. These are the 3 icons I'm using. There is 4 at this point. I skipped Rammer, so I'm not using Rammer in this setup as I don't value him as much as the 3 that I've got on. So first and foremost is I've got Phoenix on. Phoenix because it's the Fireball build. The cooldown rate on Will o' the Wisps is so short that it's so well worth you having it on. Now I don't have to. I could have mastered it and then used Rammer or whatever, but I still kind of like Phoenix Shift. So I stuck with Phoenix, with Ignition and Will o' the Wisps both upgraded. All my abilities are upgraded, not mastered. Doesn't need to be, but they are upgraded. And then we got Garuda on. Garuda's for stagger damage. So notice on the tooltips, it shows you the sword for damage, and then the stars is for stun. So Gouge is a good ability, really good, fantastic. For stun damage, it's 4-star rating. But then Aerial Blast, the ultimate for Garuda, is huge. It's so good. It's that good that you never not want to use it on bosses. It lasts so long as well, especially when you upgrade it. So this is on for stun damage. Phoenix is on for support damage with the Fireball build, giving us that. Again, it's offering constant stun and constant stagger damage as well. Ignition is extra DPS, if you like. I can sort of use it as a DPS type thing, and it'll also increase my hits so much on stun damage phases. And lastly, we're using Titan. Titan, because of its command ability, Titanic Block, and you can get stuns so good. Titan, you want to use Titan when you're fighting this S-class rank enemy, because the parries you can get and then lead up with your consecutive counterattacks does a lot of stun damage, but you get a lot of limit gauge damage. Our DPS setup on Titan is going to be Raging Fists, Wind Up. These two are short enough cooldown rates to be using these abilities every stun phase, whereas if I use Titan's ultimate, the cooldown rate's longer, right? Now, if it takes you quite a long time to get the stun phase, you might have it anyways, but I just use these 2 abilities, right? And I feel as though I get enough damage out, right, in the stun damage phase with these 2 abilities. Everything else, what I had on, this is just what I have on at the point of where I am at in the game. Accessories, I had a Badge of Might on. I've got this on because I want more ability points, but it didn't help me out in the fight. Ring of Timely Focus is the only ring that I had on for assistance in the game. This just helps you parry and stuff. You don't have to have this on. This is just what I've got on my first playthrough of the game. Obviously, I'm going to end up taking this off. But that's everything that I used. So I'll offer a little run and commentary on the fight just to give you a little insight on the game if you're still playing early or whatever, or you still haven't figured out the game mechanics and stuff. And it's an S-class rank bounty, which this was the most thing that I was looking forward to in the game. Right, what this was going to be like. I don't know how many there is, and I don't want to know. Please don't tell me how many S-class rank bounties there are. I'd be super disappointed if it's just one. But yeah, this is what I was most looking forward to. So, as we started the fight, straight away used my fireball build there, right? And then we swapped to Titan, and then we start doing the parries. After every parry, right, we lead up with the 3 hits. So I immediately go with the square, and then it's offering me so much more damage. I'm doing this to save abilities for the second phase of the stun. So right now, the yellow bar is split in half, right? Once I get in below half of that yellow bar, I can then switch to Garuda and use the command ability, right, to get like a pseudo stun to do a bit more damage, and it stops the move pool of the enemy for quite a bit. This is the big attack of this boss. He'll do those 4 blue waves that come down and then attack you while he does that. The interesting thing about it is that he makes it harder the further the fight goes on, so there's increased difficulty as the fight goes on. This would actually be a good fight if there was ads. That's one little complaint, is that when we're fighting bosses, there is times it happens in the game, don't get me wrong, there is times. So I used the tornado here, right, because I know the duration of how long the tornado lasts from Garuda, which means it's increasing my multiplier. So look, I'm already at 1.3, 1.4. I've used a fireball, I think. I've used ignition. I've used my Titan. I got both my Titan abilities, my R2 square, my R2 triangle, wind up and raging fists. And they've done so much damage. Bear in mind, I'm level 36. Right? He's 45. And that damage I just put in nearly a third. Right? Because I got everything used. I also used an ultimate, I think, and which limit gauge does enhance the abilities that you're using. So I primed it. I primed the boss before getting that ultimate stun. Like, whatever you do, don't stun a boss with no abilities. Right? That's the worst thing you can do, because what are you going to do? You're just going to hit him with your sword while he's getting stunned. You also will not build up that to 1.5 multiplier if you're only using your sword, and that's where you get your damage in, right? So that's why I use Titan as my DPS and my parry. So I keep parrying him here, and I'm trying to get him again to get the secondary stun, to get past that yellow bar to use Garuda. But I just missed it, because if you didn't know, when you're trying to do that, there is a timing window to get the stun. If you don't stun him in time after the first bar is taken, then you can't. And if he uses an attack, it interrupts that as well. But Titan's invaluable for this fight. I know I've got the ring on, and I know it makes it far easier with the ring, I understand that. But even without, you get the timing window is generous with Titan when you get your parries. It just means every time he's hitting you, you're doing so much damage, right? You could do the other way and just dodge and then hit him with magic. Dodge then magic, because the magic's going to do more stun damage than the actual attack would. So we've primed him again. I've got my aerial blast just before I stun him. I actually popped my limit, or my super, I like to refer to it as, and then I can use my abilities. My abilities are going to be enhanced. I've got 1.5 multiplier early on in the damage cycle, and that damage is so huge. I love that Titan ability, the wind up one. So yeah, I feel as though there's no need to use ultimates. That's what I've found out so far. I know there's the Phoenix one, and there's the Rama one, and they are good because they stop the time when the stagger phase is happening. And maybe there might be an accessory ring that helps these supers with their cooldowns. Well, there is one. I've actually already got one. And it might be worth running them. But at this minute, the abilities that I've got on work perfectly. Where that I've always got an ability up when I'm cycling them. because obviously you've got 3 icons, so there's 6 abilities. So each ability is doing its job. And if I'm not using an ability, which like now, then I'm just using my Titan parry all the time. The biggest thing with this boss is one of his attacks has the blue ether thing on the floor. When that happens, you can stand on it, which you can see I took a little damage, and that's where it was from. I end up standing in the ether stuff when there's a wave of it on the floor, and you sometimes don't realise you're standing in it. So that's what I'm saying. He starts to merge attacks with from the first phase when he puts all the 4 arcs, the 4 or 5, whatever it is, on the floor, and then he'll swing his sword, that saber sword thing. But you can see how good the fireball setup's been as well, because when I am parrying him, not only am I not doing that, but I'm also, the fireballs are hitting him. I get hit at the end. It's messy at the end, which is unfortunate. It was such a clean fight until this end bit. But we're just trying to get him to stun phase now and then finish him off. But that was just showing you where he is and how to kill him early on in the game. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.